Okay, cool. So we're all set to record now. Um, so I tried to set these office hours where as many people could come as possible. And I think the majority said sometime between 11 and 1. I know that there was like a second majority that was after 1. So I just tallied up the results. So here we are at noon, right in the middle. So 12 to 1 will be our standing office hours on Wednesdays. And then, obviously we'll record them and I'll post them in the announcements so that you can review them later. So I thought I did a pretty good job of explaining and over explaining the assignments and the videos, but I'm still getting some questions on them. So guys, don't overcomplicate this. This is a 2-credit class and it's not that complicated. So don't make it any harder than it is. These assignments, the assignments tell you exactly what I'm asking for. So I got one message asking about labor cost on the first one for determining jobs. Nowhere in the assignment did I ask you to calculate labor cost. And that's not even something that is being contemplated right now. What you're doing in that first assignment, where you are identifying jobs that are needed, is you're literally looking at this concept that I gave you and trying to figure out what jobs you will need to add or to eliminate based on the concept that you have. So in this case, it is a fast casual that's going not quite fine dining, but going to a little bit more of an upscale service. So it explains here, hold on, let me pull up the assignment itself. Okay, so a formerly fast casual restaurant, think something along the lines of Chipotle or Luna Grill, where it's just counter service, although these current times, it seems like most everything's counter service for the most part. Okay, so something along the lines of a Luna Grill or a Chipotle or something like that is now transitioning into a full service wine bar bistro. So think about it. Chipotle is all counter service. They serve alcohol, but you purchase it right there at the counter. They don't have servers that are coming to your table and taking your order and then putting it back into a kitchen and then coming out and having a bartender pour your wine or whatever, and then having the server bring you your wine and then later bring you your food, come ask you if you want dessert, take your dessert order, put that in. You guys following here how there's the difference between a Chipotle and a full service restaurant. So in this case, it's something like a Chipotle that is transitioning into a full service wine bar bistro where they will have servers that come to your table. So think about that for a second. If you have a Chipotle, what kind of staff do you have? You probably have cooks, you have customer service people who are at the counter, who probably are also going out there and cleaning tables, but they're not actual servers. So this is where you need to think about, okay, well, if we're going to transition into a full service wine bar bistro where there's 100 seats for guests to be seated, and there's items that are made in-house with very few convenience products like dressings and sauces. Think about at Chipotle, they have everything sent to them, right? So everything comes from a separate source, like, I don't know, all of their sauces, all of their marinades, those come to them already made. So your cooks are really just kind of heat and serve cooks. They're not necessarily fully trained cooks. So that's what you're working with. And then you've got counter people who aren't actually servers, nor are they bartenders. So now think about it. We've got cooks that are casual, like that are more like heat and serve, counter service people who aren't servers, and no bartenders. Well, if we're transitioning into a wine bar bistro and we have that existing staff, what are we getting rid of? Well, we're probably getting rid of the counter service people, but we might train them into servers. So we eliminate counter service as a position and then replace that with servers. Now the question becomes, do you think we need separate bussers, or do you think the servers can manage 100 tables and bus their own tables. I don't know, I would probably say at least have a couple bussers, right? So then we've got cooks who are just heat and serve cooks who are now going into a menu that has items that are made in house. Well, if they're heat and serve cooks, now you're like, okay, well, I'm going to need not just somebody who can heat stuff up. I need someone who knows how to make salads, who knows how to grill, knows how to saute, those kinds of things. So you could take those cooks and just turn them into train them and just say, okay, so we have cooks, but we need to just beef it up and make it so that we have more line cooks, as opposed to just maybe two cooks in the back that heat and serve. Although Luna Grill, they do grill on site. So in that case, they're already skilled. So we've got counter service people who we're probably not going to need in this new concept. So you're eliminating that. So for the new concept, we're going to need servers, not counter people. Are we going to need hosts or hostesses? Yeah, probably, because we're going to need somebody to seat these guests that otherwise in the existing concept didn't have somebody to seat them. You seated yourself. So we're adding servers, we're adding hosts and hostesses, we're adding more cooks that are better trained, right? Probably some bussers. And if it's a wine bar bistro, it probably makes sense to have a bartender so that we don't have the servers also pouring the wine. So think about that. Those of you more familiar with restaurant industry, does it make sense to have an expediter on the busy nights? Probably. Do you need somebody who's going to manage the kitchen more so than you needed in the Chipotle? In Chipotle, you probably just had a manager that manages the entire restaurant. But now it's probably going to make sense to have a back of house manager or an executive chef, maybe a sous chef. Maybe it's going to make sense to have a front of house manager, those types of things. Maybe a GM that manages the whole place, that manages the back of house manager and the front of house manager. Not necessarily, but think about it. That's up to you to decide. So you're not, if you just give me a good faith effort, and pretty much if you just outline what I just told you just now in these office hours, and give me a number of people that you think you're going to hire for each of those positions, you're going to get full credit for the assignment. You're not going to get docked because I'm not going to look at it and say, oh no, I don't really think that you need a general manager for the whole place if you've got a front of house manager and a back of house manager. I'm not going to do that. If you say you need a GM, okay, great. You gave me a good faith effort. It shows me that you sat down and you thought about the different jobs that you would need for this establishment. So the PowerPoints that I provided to you walk through what this job analysis is. This is you literally starting in the middle of an existing concept that's going to be a new concept. So like I think I mentioned in the video, if you're a startup, you just have to think from scratch, like of all of the different jobs that you would need from scratch, right? Versus down the road, let's say it's an existing concept and you're having to go back to the drawing board to reevaluate. And as we get through this course, you'll see this will make more sense in terms of the reevaluation of determining whether you got it right. If you hired enough people or didn't hire enough people, that's going to be something that you're going to need to reevaluate on a periodic basis. So in the beginning, you first start a restaurant or any concept, you're going to have to think about every single job that you could possibly need for that establishment. That's what you're going to do in the very beginning. So it's basically what you're doing here. It's just that I gave you a little something more to work with instead of just saying, hey, think of a concept and then think of all the possible jobs that you would need for that. I wanted you to get a little feel for what it would be like if you did already have existing staff and what other jobs you might need to add or eliminate in that situation. Because the reality is, let's say you're in the startup phase, you think of all the jobs that you could possibly need, right? Then a year down the road, you go through all of these different modules of what we're going to be covering in this class with selection process, training, onboarding, evaluating, all of that stuff. That's all going to have happened, let's say, over a period of a year. So you've been through all of these processes, hiring people, determining what jobs you need, writing the job descriptions, selecting them. Then a year down the road, you're going to stop and you're going to take a minute to pause and be like, okay, we've had some training issues. Maybe we're a little understaffed. Maybe we're not hiring the right people. Maybe we're not advertising in the right places. And you know what? I actually don't know if we really need that many cooks or if we need that many servers or if the job duties that are being performed by our line cooks couldn't also include the job duties that are being included for our prep cooks. So maybe I'm going to collapse the prep cooks and the line cooks together and we get rid of prep cooks and then we just hire a couple more line cooks and we just add those duties to the line cook responsibilities. Or alternatively, like, in the beginning, we decided not to hire prep cooks and we thought our line cooks could handle everything. But as we've been trucking down the road here for this last year and we've been walking through the process, we're finding that maybe that's too much work for our line cooks to do. So we're going to go back and look at the job duties that were expected of our line cooks and see if maybe we can parse that out and create another position for prep cooks. And then we're going to figure out what the duties are for the prep cooks versus what the duties are for the line cooks. And then we'll draw up a whole other job description for prep cooks. So that's like down the road when you're having to make those determinations, and that's the real world. So this assignment is just kind of giving you a taste of what it's like in the very beginning, just trying to think of all of the possible jobs that you could possibly need for a new concept. The new concept being the full service wine bar bistro. So start there, think about it. Be like, okay, so if I were to just start a wine bar bistro from scratch, what positions would I need? Well, probably a host, probably some prep cooks, probably some line cooks, probably a back of house manager, and that could be an executive chef, probably a front of house manager, probably going to need a bartender, going to need some servers. And then start thinking about how many. You got 100 seats. Yeah, start thinking about how many servers you're going to need. And then determine, do we need bussers, or can I just add that bussing tables to the job duties of the servers? Think about that. Okay. The menu is being made in-house. So those cooks and prep cooks, so the prep cooks are probably going to be making the dressings, the sauces, maybe some marinades, getting the proteins in the marinade. So how many prep cooks am I probably going to need for a 100-seat restaurant with everything from scratch? And then, oh shoot, I lied. There is a labor cost point at 20%. Just don't calculate it. Just like don't overshoot. Don't say I need 10 line cooks, because we all know that that's going to put you over like a crazy labor cost. Just be realistic. That's all that labor cost 20% was, is just stay dialed in and don't say I need 30 line cooks, because that's just ridiculous. But anyway, so go through and think about all of the different jobs that you would need to have in that kind of an establishment. Then think about how many of those positions you would need. How many line cooks will I need? How many prep cooks will I need? Also, concurrently, you're thinking about what the job duties are for those particular positions. Now, look at the second part of this and say, okay, I thought of everything I'm going to need for the wine bar bistro, all of the duties and the number of positions I'm going to need. Now, look at what you have that's in existence. Well, I currently have a fast casual restaurant, which is, let's say, like a Chipotle. So what do I already have that might match up or replace or like kind of fit in with what I need? Well, Chipotle, I have people that are cooking, or let's say Luna Grill, I have someone who's cooking. And I said that I need so many line cooks. And I said I needed so many prep cooks. Well, what's the skill level of these cooks from Chipotle versus, let's say, a Luna Grill? Well, Luna Grill, we do know that the cooks in the back actually are grilling meats. So those guys could probably be line cooks. Maybe you don't really have any prep cooks in a Luna Grill. You just have line cooks because everything comes in already made. So you're like, you know what? we're going to be doing everything from scratch, we should probably add some prep cooks. So I'll keep the line cooks I have, so I don't need to hire those. And or maybe I only have a certain amount of line cooks, and I determined for this new concept I'm going to need more line cooks. And then we're going to add prep cooks because we probably don't have those. Let's see, we needed servers for the new concept, but I just have counter service people. We probably cross-train those and just turn the counter service people into servers. See, that's all this is. It's really just that simple. You can give it to me in bullet point. I'm not looking at any of this in essay form. Just give it to me in bullet point. As long as the information is there, that's all I care about. Just get that to me. Show me that you made a good faith effort. I'm not going to go through and say, oh, I think you needed 5 line cooks and you said you need 6. But if you say you need 50 line cooks, that's not going to keep you in a labor cost of 20%. But if you say you need 6 line cooks and maybe you really only need 3, I'm not going to go through and say, nope, you didn't get that right. I'm just looking for a good faith effort here. Just show me that you made a good faith effort. You tried and you submitted something to me. Again, can be in bullet point. It could be in PowerPoint. It could be in PDF. The only thing I ask is don't submit it to me in like one of those programs where I need to use a link to access it and have to have permission. I won't even bother. If you submit something to me that has a link I have to click on, I won't even consider your assignment. It has to be sent to me in an attachment that I can open. So PowerPoint, Word document, PDF, something like that, not a link that I'm going to have to click on to go outside to go try and find this. I know some of those like open office programs have that. No, you need to download that into a PDF and submit it as an actual file because I will not click on those links. Just it's too much of a hassle to try and get permissions and it redirects and sometimes I can't open it and it doesn't work. So anyway, that's how you submit it to me. Let me take a look here real quick at the next assignment. Job descriptions, because that's the one that is coming up due. I'm not even going to address selection process yet because that due date isn't even until March 16th. We can discuss that in another office hours. So if you are, let's see, just want to make sure. Hold on. Oh no, job descriptions was due February 17th. My apologies, I was looking at an old thing. And selection process, the 24th. So I will talk about that. But then I don't have any questions on the next one. Okay. So job descriptions, same thing. Not same thing, but let me pull up the assignment. Okay, now in the first assignment, you determined what jobs were needed, right? You just said, okay, we need all of these different positions, and this is how many of them we need. Now, all I want you to do for this one is look to 2 different positions. So let's say a line cook and a server, or a front of house manager and a bartender, or a prep cook and a host or hostess. I don't care. Pick whatever of the, pick any 2 job duties or, jobs, positions that you identified that you're going to need. Now just pick 2 of them and you're going to use those same 2 positions pretty much through the rest of the semester. Now what I want you to do is write job descriptions for those 2 jobs. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was looking to see if there were the PowerPoints. Maybe they didn't get published here for some reason. Oh, you know what? Hold on one second. Let me look at the module real quick just to make sure.
Professor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So do we have to consider always the concept that you gave us? Like this bistro that is turning it into more like fine dining for all the assignment is gonna be that I'm gonna think about?
Yeah, you know what? The way that it's posted, yes, but actually I'd like to give you guys a little more flexibility. Hold on. Okay. Thought I had in the job descriptions, I swore I had the PowerPoints attached, but I'm not seeing it. Did you guys see PowerPoints in the job description anywhere?
I didn't. I have it pulled up after I do have it pulled up, but I don't. I think see a PowerPoint available for it.
Okay, I'm wondering if it's in the PowerPoint that was attached to the first assignment. Let me just look real quick. Okay, yeah, no, it's the same PowerPoint, because in that PowerPoint that I attached in the first assignment, it goes through and explains job descriptions as well. Let me just edit it. Let me edit this really fast to say that you can. Okay, so I just revised this. Thank you for that question, by the way. I thought that I had said that, but I guess not. Okay, let me just save this and hopefully you'll see the change. Okay, so now under job descriptions, I put in there that you can use jobs from the previous assignment or use 2 jobs from a concept you create. So if there's something that you guys are working on, let's say, because I know I don't always have a lot of culinarians. Sometimes I'll have event planners or more who are geared toward hotel. So for the first assignment, obviously there's a specific reason why I gave you the concept, because I wanted you to critically think through a new concept, but also tying in something that was in existence. So you got a feel for what it was like to do that evaluation later. That's not uncommon for people to reconcept. So for that, it was just more of an exercise of that critical thinking. But moving forward, I don't want you to be trapped into a culinary concept if you are more hotel or event planning. So in that case, whatever concept that you've been working with or will want to work with for your time in this program, just use that and pick 2 jobs from that. And then, definitely refer to those slides though, because it explains to you the job descriptions. And in my video, I explain all of the legal minefields that you can run into in job descriptions so that you don't run afoul of any discrimination laws. But yeah, let's say if you're an event planner and obviously you'd have an event planner in the position, but you might have like a lead event coordinator and an assistant, or you might have a manager of some kind, or you might have somebody who drives for you. In the event world, the things are endless, but in hotel, oh my gosh, you've got tons of positions there that you can choose from. Anything from front desk to housekeeping to catering and banquets. So for the other assignments moving forward, you're not going to be trapped to that first assignment. So great question. And then this one with the job descriptions, just review the video. I explain and over explain all the different legal minefields that you can run into with, explaining the whole lifting 50 pounds and whether you really need that as a requirement, those kinds of things. Let me look to the next assignment. Just trying to hit some of the questions that I've already seen come in. Um, okay, yeah. The same thing is you need to have a selection process, or you really should have a selection process that you go through for each job. So again, working with the same two jobs that you pick for assignment two for the job descriptions, use those that you will need to keep those same jobs, but it's from your chosen concept. So keep working with those two jobs and how you're going to go through selecting candidates to fill those particular jobs. And the reason for having the selection process in place is that it shows that this is what you do every single time you hire for a front desk person. This is the same thing that you do every single time you hire for a catering and sales manager. You always go through this selection process. That way, it's keeping you on track. It's showing that every step of the way you're working to eliminate discrimination issues, because what can happen is if somebody isn't chosen for the job, they may come back and try and claim that they weren't chosen for some kind of equal employment opportunity law violation. And if you have a selection process in place, you can say, well, no, actually, this is our process on how we choose people for our catering manager position. And this was along the way. And this is where that person or that applicant's resume stopped because they didn't check the box to move on to the next phase. So that just helps eliminate that. It's just one more piece in the puzzle to try and keep you out of trouble in terms of discrimination primarily, um, and any employment claims that could be brought if you can show that you have those processes. Let me take a look here because I guess there is another one coming up, is the training and orientation program. Same thing. You are going to have orientation to the company itself. How are you onboarding? Now you've chosen the people and you have a whole process by which you've done that. Now, how are you going to onboard these new people? And how are you going to train them? And what expectations do you have for them to already be knowledgeable? So let's say it is like a line cook that is supposed to be like, let's say on like saute or something. Well, if you're going to hire a line cook, you're probably looking for someone that has experience. So there's some things that you're not looking to train them on, like how to saute or how to grill. Like that's not stuff that you should necessarily think about that you need to train, but you may need to train them on specific pieces of equipment that might be different than what they're used to working on, or training on how you want your menu items done specifically. So that would be, training. And then the orientation would be, familiarity with the company itself. Are you giving them a tour of the hotel, a tour of the restaurant, those kinds of things? Are there benefits? Are there packages, employee packets? An orientation program would include making sure that they have their employee manual, which you should have. So that's really what that is. And I think the video and everything explains that. I don't want to restate everything that's in the videos. And so I'll answer specific questions related to that as those come up. And I think that takes care of the questions that I've seen that have been sent to me in inbox via Canvas. Don't email me. I only want messages sent through Canvas because I have a district email that gets email from everything in the community college district, not just Mesa. So there is a high likelihood that your email to me will get buried and not be seen. So to avoid risking that, send messages to me through the inbox in Canvas, because then I will get it. And it's not going to get buried by all of the different announcements that are coming through district wide, or get stuck in junk somewhere. So inbox Canvas only. Let's see. Oh, assignment due dates. You guys don't sweat these. This is really, these are just like markers in time to try and keep you on track. Honestly, I will not deduct you points if you turn something in after the deadline. To me, this is all very project based. It's kind of like a lab, is how I designed this particular curriculum from what I had inherited a few years ago when I first started teaching this class. Is instead of doing a bunch of exams that were canned from the publisher of the book, I found that there was just way too much wiggle room and things that could be explained in those quizzes. For instance, like quizzes oftentimes had two real good viable answers, and I didn't agree that one of them was better than the other because it's just the way they were written. So I scrapped all of those quizzes and decided that a project-based class that was more like a lab kind of, especially when we went to the hybrid of on ground and online, I thought was a really good move here because this is all stuff that is very useful to you in the real world. And as you go through this program, and I know in other classes, you're going to have a concept that you create. And I know Brian has a bunch of that stuff where I think you have to figure out budgets and all of that stuff working from a concept. So this just enhances that in terms of those project-based classes too, where you can just kind of put this as another part, another important piece of those concepts that is very real. I am a practicing attorney in the space of hospitality and craft beverage. And all of this stuff that I'm telling you is really helpful to the clients that I represent. And these are all things that I counsel my clients on. In fact, I just had one of my clients a couple weeks ago send over a job description because they're wanting to hire a new position. They went through and they identified another job that was needed in their establishment because they've been in business for a while now, and went through and did the evaluations like, oh gosh, we hired these positions and now we're at a place where we really need to add another job, and here are the job duties that are going to happen with that. And then now we need to write the job description and determine pay, benefits, how we're going to choose the person, what we're going to do to retain them. So I literally just had this issue a couple weeks ago with regard to hiring a new position. Then I, just last week got another client wants to know how we can retain someone that they have working for them. Like, we really like this person. We want this person to stay happy. So what can we do to keep this person happy and stay with us and not go to one of our competitors? So if you look to the retention program, you'll see that that is actually something that we're doing in the real world. Disciplinary program, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how many times I've counseled clients on how to do that properly so that they minimize their risk of getting hit with an unlawful termination claim. So anyway, so that's why I designed this class the way I did, was I made it very project-based because this is real. And this is stuff that any HR department would put together, but then as a litigator and attorney practicing in the space, these are the things that I see that are really important to have in place and what I advise my clients on. So anyway, that said, with the due dates being pretty loose, I will accept your work all the way up until the end of the semester. I think they're available until May 17th. And that just gives me some time to get them graded before my grades are due to the college. But I will accept work all the way up until then, because it's way more important to me that you actually do the work and get value out of this class and see how these projects work, than to just close it off and say, no, I'm sorry, you missed that deadline, I'm not going to accept it. And then you lose the value of what it would be like to actually do the project. So I'd way rather give you plenty of time to turn in the project without worrying about getting dinged on points if you miss the deadline, so long as you get it turned in by May 17th. I'm fine with that, because I'd just rather you do the work. I think that there's more value in that than you worrying about the points being deducted and then just saying, I'm going to lose points on it anyway, so I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather give you as much opportunity to do the work as possible. Also, the deadlines, or not deadlines, actually, the due dates that I put in there are really just, like I said, just kind of markers to keep you on track, so that if I just widely said, well, I accept, you can turn this in at the end of the semester and that's fine. I kind of want to at least give you some guidance on how to stay on track, so that you're just not like, oh, I've got these 10 assignments to do sometime before the end of the semester. This is just a way to keep you on track. Like, hey, if you do this assignment by this date, you're going to be in really good shape. It's not going to get to be too overwhelming. And honestly, you guys, this is a 2-credit class. These assignments are not overwhelming. I'm not looking for essays, just the quick and dirty. As long as I get the information, I'm fine. Because I very much get 2-credit class is that you shouldn't have work that's overwhelming for a 2-credit class. So I just wanted to keep that commensurate. So anyway, that's what I've got to say. Any other questions that may have come up? So you need specific numbers for the assignment. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, in term for the first assignment. You need, yeah, tell me how many of that position you're going to need. Because later in the semester, we're going to go through and we're going to kind of take a look at that. Anything else?
Yes. So when I've done with that assignment, the first one, I thought about like, what do I need from now on, like in total. So I'm gonna need 6 busser, probably 1 general manager, 1 executive chef, 2 sous chef probably, and then instead of hiring prep cook, the dishwasher can do that job and hire more line cook. That's what I thought in my mind. So that's, I think I did it right.
Yeah. Oh no, that's perfect. That's exactly. Yep.
Okay. So thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, I will keep these Wednesday at noon to 1. We'll keep for office hours. And again, if you can't make it, it's okay. We'll be recorded. Yeah, but otherwise I think we're in good shape. And if there's anything specific, oh, here's the other thing too. If there's something, if you really are that lost, which I certainly hope not, like I said, this class, do not overcomplicate it. What I ask for and what I explain in the videos is exactly what I'm expecting, nothing more. If for some reason you are absolutely lost and you still need a one-on-one, we can do that. So just message me over Canvas and we can set up a one-on-one. That is totally fine. I know that the current times right now are very interesting with online versus having the benefit of having your professor on ground with you. Even when we were hybrid, I still had an hour with my HR class where they would be working on these projects and I could just walk around and answer questions one-on-one if needed. So I understand that that is a missing for you guys. So if we need to set up a one-on-one, please don't hesitate and send me a message and we can do that. And otherwise, I think we are in good shape. And I guess I will see everyone next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.